Hello, I'm Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priests for Life, with another episode of Pro-Life Straight Talk, where we expose the truth about abortion with courage and without compromise, no matter what the consequences. Well, brothers and sisters, we've been talking about the freedom that we as the church should have in the pulpit, and everywhere else for that matter, to proclaim the Word of God, to apply that Word to the situations in our society, especially as we come upon elections and matters of politics. Now, both the church and the United States government are on record as supporting that kind of freedom. For example, one of the key documents of the Catholic Church is Gaudium et Spes, the Vatican Council, Second Vatican Council's document on the church in the modern world. And in section 76 of that document, we find these important words. At all times and in all places, the church should have the true freedom to teach the faith, to proclaim its teaching about society, to carry out its task among men without hindrance, and to pass moral judgment even in matters relating to politics whenever the fundamental rights of man or the salvation of souls requires it. Now, what right is more fundamental than life itself? So when life is at stake, as it is in unbridled abortion, then we have the right to pass moral judgment even on matters of politics, in elections, how it's going to impact the continuation of this slaughter of human life. Not only is the church on record in favor of her freedom to speak about these things, but so is the state. In 1964, there was a Supreme Court, New York Times versus Sullivan, that enunciated an often quoted line that speaks about our profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. Well, brothers and sisters, the irony in our day is that we as a church are involved in a tremendous struggle for religious freedom, and yet so often we're hampering our freedom. We become our own worst enemy if we tell ourselves or our institutions internally that we can't talk about political things, that we can't talk about the need to vote pro-life. I want to read for you now from a memo that actually came out of a Catholic diocese prior to one of our recent national elections. Now, in the light of what you've just heard, listen carefully to this quote. Catholic organizations may educate voters about the issues. In addition, they may provide neutral educational forums or information on candidates' positions, or make known the Church's position on issues. So far, so good. But listen to the rest of this memo. Indeed, it is the Church's right and obligation to make its teachings on moral ideas known, as long as these teachings do not run afoul of the rules on political activity. Do you realize what's being said there? A Catholic diocese is saying that, yes, the church, founded by Jesus Christ and enunciating her teachings everywhere in the world as she has the right and obligation to do, can in fact do so, but only when they don't run afoul of some kind of rules about political activity. The freedom we have in the church, as enunciated by the church and by the United States Supreme Court, has to be, and we heard these words in the quotes I read, uninhibited and without hindrance. So why do we think that some kind of rules on political activity by the IRS are supposed to hinder us? They aren't. And this is why we're calling for reform. In the course of these videos, we're giving some very practical ideas for reform of the laws and policies we have in this country. But first and foremost, the reform has to happen in here, in our own hearts and minds and consciences, where we get rid of this fear and this self-censorship by which we say, oh yeah, we can proclaim our teachings except if it gets the IRS angry. Brothers and sisters, we need profound reform. We need profound conversion. Let's work on this together. Let's encourage one another to speak the truth clearly and boldly. Again, as I've said on previous programs, it's not to make the church the arm of a political party. It's to make the church, proclaiming the Word of God and applying it even to elections, especially when the fundamental right to life is at stake. God bless you.